Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast. In the middle of a pandemic, this is what the G.O.P decided they would argue last night.
Our nation is built on the dignity of work. What this bill does without fixing it is it simply says you can earn more money by being on unemployment than you can while working. That is an incentive that is perverse. We cannot have intended to encourage people not to work and make more money than to go back to work and receive your normal pay.
Under this bill, the $600 payment on top of state benefits actually allows people to have their income almost doubled in certain circumstances. And I want to help people. I want to make sure that if you lose your job, that we cover your wages. But under this bill, you get $23.15 an hour based on a 40-hour work week not to work.
This is a debate about whether or not we're going to let a poorly drafted bill knock this nation still harder in the coming months by unintentionally increasing unemployment. That's what this debate is about.
Seriously?
So we want to do something really simple. We want to fix what's broken here by saying that unemployment insurance benefits should be capped at 100% of the pay you had before you were unemployed. This isn't just about people who've already been made unemployed. This is about people who are going to be made unemployed in the coming weeks. All this amendment says, that we're voting on in a few minutes, is that we should cap the unemployment benefits at 100% of the wages you were just receiving while working.
Under this bill as it's written now, the government will pay many Americans more to be on government assistance than they would make if they were working at their regular jobs.
Oh, my God.
I support expanding the unemployment insurance program. It's the best and quickest way to get money to people that need it most. But we should not create a system where unemployment insurance benefits are higher than a salary. We cannot pay people more to not work than to work. This is basic common sense.
That's Rick Scott, the biggest Medicare fraudster in the history of Medicare. In the history of the program of Medicare, that man's hospitals built Medicare billions of dollars, out of billions of dollars. Listen, we're talking about 4 months. We're talking about 4 months of disaster relief payments to Americans who are furloughed through no fault of their own, who are laid off through no fault of their own. If you quit, you don't get unemployment. Everybody knows that. But we're talking about a 4-month relief package for ordinary Americans who, through no fault of their own, become unemployed because the federal government decided not to take tests from the World Health Organization and decided that the CDC could handle it when obviously the CDC's test did not work. And so we had this massive spread all throughout the country with shutdown orders and shelter-in-place orders for an enormous swath of America. And it's just now starting. We got like 3 weeks, and we'll see the cases start to increase over the next 3 weeks. Every doctor has told us that. Every number cruncher has told us that. Every epidemiologist has told us that. We don't have any testing in the entirety of Palm Beach County. We have about 2 million people living here. So we don't know who. We don't know anything. We know nothing. Nothing about this place. 3.2 million people filed for unemployment insurance last month. 13 people died in one Queens hospital in Elmhurst, Queens last night. They are actually sending ice trucks like a freaking Dexter episode, okay? Ice trucks to take the corpses and freeze them for now. How would you take a stimulus check and go out shopping after your parents' body was stored in a refrigerator truck and then buried without a funeral? I mean, these are some sick, twisted people. Bernie on the Senate floor, oh my God, if we gave people $600 a week and it's more than they were making, which is just a sign that people make too little, is what that is. Nurses? Really? Nurses with degrees? School teachers? Really? With degrees? Advanced degrees? Making $15, $16 an hour? That should tell you that if people aren't making $52,000 a year doing professional jobs, that something is wrong with the distribution of wealth in this country. But that said, they had no problem with the bailout for business. No problem whatsoever. There was no debate. Hey, if you start paying businesses and all they do is buy back their stocks, maybe they'll get lazy. Maybe they'll stop innovating. Maybe they'll stop manufacturing. Maybe they'll go hunting around the world for the cheapest labor they can find. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it is. No debate about that. Bernie was like spitting fire last night.
The other thing that this bill does, which is right, is it says, okay, we are in the midst of a horrific crisis, unprecedented in modern American history. So not only are you going to get your regular unemployment benefits, we're going to add another $600 a week to it. And now I find that some of my Republican colleagues are very distressed. They're very upset that somebody who's making $10, $12 an hour might end up with a paycheck for 4 months more than they received last week. Oh my God, the universe is collapsing. Imagine that. Somebody who's making $12 an hour, now like the rest of us, faces an unprecedented economic crisis with the $600 on top of their regular unemployment check, might be making a few bucks more for 4 months. Oh my word! Will the universe survive? How absurd and wrong is that? What kind of value system is that? Meanwhile, these very same folks had no problem a couple of years ago voting for $1 trillion in tax breaks for billionaires.
He's right. Nobody had a problem with it. No one had a problem with the tax cuts for the billionaires. No one said, hey, you know what? That's deficit spending. We're shoving $2 trillion out the door to the wealthiest Americans on the backs of the working people of this country. It's a deficit finance tax cut. No one had any problem. No one said, ooh, the rich are going to get lazy. They're going to sit home and let their money make money, which is exactly what they did. And then we're going to tax money making money at a lesser rate than we tax labor making money. What could go wrong? No one had a debate about that, did they? And I got news for you. They were also, the Republicans were against what passed last night, the $1,200 checks going out to everybody that doesn't make $99,000 as a single person a year. Yeah, so they were saying, no, poor people, they don't deserve $1,200. They don't deserve a one-time check for $1,200. They don't deserve it because they're poor. And $1,200 will seem like a lot of money to them. Meanwhile, you got these senators, these House members. How many days a week do they work? What, 3? Monday's a travel day. Tuesday, maybe they work in the afternoon. Wednesday, maybe they have, fundraisers in the morning, a fundraiser at lunch, and then maybe they show up and do some sort of a consent vote for some unqualified judge to go through. That you got 450 pieces of legislation sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. He won't even vote for it. And they're making almost $200,000 a year to work 3 days a week with vacations every other week. They're on recess now. Then they're not back now. And then they'll go on recess for another 3 weeks. And then what? RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.